or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I-95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Eye on Dependency. Right here on I-95.5 FM, live on the Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel. Good morning, Natasha.
Good morning, Garth, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
And once again, we thank you for this opportunity to be speaking to you wherever you are this morning. This morning is the start of a important series of discussions on human trafficking. Remember, we also observe World Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. And in July, we look at World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. This morning, you're going to be hearing from a young lady who, like so many others, who would have tried because of wanting to have a better life. Some people say it's risking your life. But the thing is survival. And from our research since we've been doing independence for the last 20 years, we realized that people from what we call marginalized communities take advantage or try to take advantage of or are being taken advantage of because of their station in life. So they're poor, found themselves in desperate, hard times. What's next? Somebody says, take these drugs across borders for us, and you get money. Or you answer an ad, thinking, here's an opportunity to make some money. And that dream, to be in that position where you don't have to worry about anything because you can take care of your family. And because of that research, we found that a lot of women especially fall prey to this. So as a result of that, right here in Trinidad and Tobago, there are ads in the newspaper, they're on Facebook, inviting people and selling them the moon and the stars, and everything is going to be all right. And the next thing you know, you're in a room somewhere asking yourself, what the hell did I do?
Indeed. And as Garth said, there are always people out there who are willing to exploit you for their own gain, and human trafficking obviously is the epitome of that. And we're focusing today on a true story, a lived experience, not in our jurisdiction. So it's interesting to have an insight into what takes place in other parts of the world. The young woman that we are interviewing this morning is from Kenya, on the continent. And it's an interesting story. I won't get too much into it because there's a lot to it, but it really highlights how not only how people are easily exploited, but how the state is often involved in a kind of surreptitious way in facilitating the trafficking of human beings.
So the lesson today is, should I accept this invitation? Should I answer this ad? and what will be the consequences, even though they try to make it look as lucrative as possible. So you'll be hearing from Wanja Patricia Kimani.
Yes.
And she did just that. Went on Facebook, answered an ad, and it took her on a journey. Thank God she survived, but she had to go through a lot before she did. And thanks to the IOM and the UN, she was rescued. You'll hear more about that.
Yep.
While you're getting settled, and let me just run down what you're going to hear. So we're going to start with a news report from Kenya speaking about this. 3-minute item, 3-minute piece will explain what you're about to hear. And then we take a break and we'll speak with Patricia afterwards. And then after that, we take another break and you will hear from the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit, Mrs. Kimani Thomas Williams, and who will explain to you, our listening audience, the act, the means, and the purpose of human trafficking, especially those of you youngsters who are listening to us this morning and who's joining us as well from the Civilian Conservation Corps. We thank you very much for wanting to learn a lesson today. We'll delve more into that after this break. After this news item, So we'll go to video A first, short man, and play that, and then go straight to the break and come back with Patricia and Mrs. Kimani Thomas Williams as the Deputy Director. And we say good morning to Director Dr. Samantha Chitram. This is just the first part where you will hear the Deputy, and then in the other program, which looks at the day itself, you'll hear from the Director. All right, so, and then we will also, for those of you young people, there's a video that circulated with people who attended the quote-unquote stink and dirty shake-up. And
Shake-up.
And you know, as if, because the name is powerful, and it's as if it is designed for people to behave like that. Because there's a video that circulates with about 6 people lying on the ground, cold, wet ground, dead, knocked out. I won't even say asleep. If you were one of them, we're going to show everybody this morning. And if you survive that, I want you to now turn your life in a different direction, because you survived something that you could not. That is the most dangerous position to be in. Not knowing yourself, sleeping out in public on the cold ground, passed out from whatever you consumed. So we'll deal with that afterwards. So without further ado, we welcome you once again to Dependency, and take this journey with us and learn something from it this morning, please. We'll go to the news item. And remember, you can find us on EYE on Dependency on Facebook and YouTube. Without further ado, Natasha, can we introduce the clip? And Shortman, take it away.
This is again a news item out of Kenya, which in which you will hear Patricia's voice. This, I think, was done while she was still in Saudi Arabia, so it was really kind of like on the spot reporting, and she was trying to bring awareness of her situation to the people of Kenya. It's very interesting.
So we say good morning to Southwest, Central, and the other regions joining us, CCC North Central as well, Southwest region. Good morning to all of you, and let's settle in. Let's start this journey this morning. Shortman, over to you.
Concerns abroad but affecting Kenyans. For thousands of women that board a flight to Saudi Arabia to secure jobs as domestic workers, it is a gamble on whether they will face abuse at the hands of their employers. The increase in reports of inhumane working conditions in the Middle East has been a thorn in the side of Kenya's labor force. Gina Kirori spoke to a 25-year-old who is currently stuck in Saudi Arabia and is desperate to come back home.
When Patricia Wanja was cleaning the home of her Saudi Arabia employer, a gun placed on the coffee table sent chills down her spine, only adding to the web of trauma that she has endured in the weeks that she has been working as a domestic worker in the Middle East Kingdom.
I was just so terrified. I was just so terrified. I just held it with a rag, the rag I was cleaning with, and I felt it was lighter and I just left it.
While Wanja expected to earn 30,000 shillings a month in Saudi Arabia, the agency that facilitated her employment, identified as Mahara Human Resources Company, ended up paying her 25,983 shillings.
I look at myself and I see the things going on, but when I remember that if I complain, I may be imprisoned, I just hold back. I just hold back and work as if nothing is wrong. Mahara, please.
Wanja says that she has fallen ill during the weeks that she has been at her employer's home, but no efforts have been made to take her to any medical facility, which goes against the terms of her contract.
Another time I was cleaning the flasks and one of them broke and the lady just threw it at me like that. And she was asking her husband, what do we do with her? And I got so scared.
Her motivation for returning home is to see her two children once again, especially since they are aged 1 and 7 respectively.
When I was coming here, I had told my daughter that I'm coming here so that we can build a home for ourselves, so that I can have some savings. And
the desperation for lucrative offers in Middle Eastern countries has been behind the decision by many women to travel to a foreign land, as they say job opportunities in Kenya are hard to come by. The surge in reports of women being exploited and abused by their employers in the Middle East led to the government requiring all agencies recruiting Kenyans seeking employment in Saudi Arabia to pay 1.5 million shillings as a security bond in 2019. The agreement also required any Kenyan domestic worker to be paid an average salary of 30,000 shillings. Wanja is now appealing to the government to help bring her and many other girls suffering from abuse back home. Gena Kirori, NTV.
Ah boy. Feel like going and buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Hello. Hi, this is Patricia Kimani from HMP London. Can I speak to Miss Sheila, please? This is Miss Sheila. Hi, I've got an important call for you. Please hold the line.
Mommy, it's Sherry.
Oh God, Sherry, we looking for you all the time. 3 weeks now. Where you going?
Mommy, according to tell you, I get locked up. I had drugs in my luggage and I'm in England right now. In jail.
Oh God, Sherry, what will you do? How you reach there? Oh God, how we gonna do?
Oh God, Mommy, don't cry. It'll be alright. Sorry.
Eye on Dependency. Reality radio at its best every Sunday on I 95.5 FM. Don't miss it.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on I 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
A frustrated bad boy mature and them outside because I have 6 children I was. And it's pressure to see them and thing because
specifically
can't afford to
trafficking
see
for
them or
labor.
nothing like that now.
And
I don't know really
we
what
are
it is about
just
because
trying to
so far in this
get
prison here,
our
I don't know when I could come out from this place. You understand?
online with
I'm
us
fighting hard really to see if I could
Yeah,
see this
because
court
she's,
and go to court and thing,
she's
but it
out in
seems like
Kenya
I'm not
right
going to
now.
court and thing.
And
You understand? Because they
believe me,
say
she
they
has
say I'm supposed to be
a
MSI.
very
I'm going to court now and
important
then, now
message
and
for you
then.
this morning, you young people especially, because, you know, having said that, I want to remind you yesterday what happened. A Trinidad and Tobago national is one of the 2 foreigners arrested by Cambodia's anti-drug police for trafficking 1.59 kilograms of cocaine across borders, the country's anti-drug police department said in a report on Friday. And he has been identified as Knight Joel Isaiah. Don't know if any of you youngsters listening who would be familiar with him. But the other person is a Thai woman. And the national smuggled...
Thai,
yeah.
No
Thai.
age.
The Trinidad and Tobago national smuggled the drug hidden in a suitcase from Sao Paulo, Brazil, through Dubai and Malaysia before arriving in in Thailand. And the destination was for Thailand. Now, folks, here is what. Apart from most of the drugs seized, ketamine, crystal meth, methamphetamine, pills, heroin, ecstasy, and cocaine. What they're dealing with out there, they don't have the death penalty for drug trafficking, but they have a life sentence. So once you cross a certain amount, once you're found guilty of trafficking more than 80 grams of illicit drugs, you could be jailed for life. So that Trini son, you may never see him again. Just to let you all know how serious it is with this and this door of no return that you can actually walk through. So be advised, be warned. Once again, we welcome all of you. And now we have Patricia on the line. Patricia, good morning.
Morning.
Well, good morning here.
Well,
good afternoon on your
to
end. You could try unmuting your microphone.
I was on mute.
Yes, you were on mute.
That's okay. We're hearing you loud and clear. Welcome.
Welcome, my dear. And
Thank you.
thank you very much for giving us the opportunity, and for the youngsters who are listening to you this morning, the lesson that they're going to learn. So let's get right into it. Patricia, you grew up tell us about, your upbringing first, and then we take to that decision you had to make.
Well, I grew up in a humble background, a typical African background, where my father was the only breadwinner, and he used to get very drunk. He used to spend all his earnings on alcohol, and sometimes he would take loans in my name or in my brother's name. So yeah, he would get so much into debt just because he wanted to get drunk. So I grew up trying to make it in life, doing my best to change the situation at home. I tried to be different. I was really intelligent in school, so I had very big dreams. So I would try my best to perform well in school and try to apply for scholarships and all that, so that at least my own family would not have to turn out the way the family I grew up in was. So I was very ambitious. And I think that's what has led me into some of these troubles, like the human trafficking. It's because I wanted to be able to provide for my own children without having to get into debt. Trying to provide for my own children even after the pandemic, and that's what drove me to look for opportunities abroad. But unluckily, I fell into the wrong hands. Yeah.
So you mentioned the pandemic. That was a pivotal period for you and for the world, really. But tell us how the pandemic impacted your life and your decision to seek work abroad.
I got a child
a few weeks before the state of emergency was declared. My son was around 6 weeks when the news of the pandemic hit the world, and it was a desperate time for me as a single mom because there were no jobs. Business was not going to succeed, so I was really desperate. And the moment doors began to open, the lockdowns were lifted in various countries. It's when I considered that I have to look for a job abroad. Yeah, that's how I began my job hunting endeavor, because I did not have my degree yet. I still don't have it. So at that point, I needed to provide for my children. I needed to cater for my son's surgery. He was born prematurely. He had a heart condition. He had a problem of the abdomen. I had to cater for that. And as a single mom, unemployed, it was really a struggle. So that's when I considered some jobs abroad, and I ended up being trafficked.
And tell us about how you found the job. You mentioned in the in another video that you found the agency on Facebook. Now, if just to set the stage as well, there is a relationship between the government of Kenya and the government of Saudi Arabia in terms of exchange of labor. So tell us about that arrangement. Did you know about that arrangement, and how did you find the agency?
I did not know anything about the government having a bilateral agreement. And when I was on Facebook searching for these jobs, I was just really looking for a job abroad, not necessarily Saudi Arabia, because initially I had been told I can be a tutor in Dubai and Qatar. Because myself, I was taking a degree, a Bachelor of Education degree then. So when I was told I would be a tutor in Dubai or Qatar, and then when I went to the agency, they said those two places were still under lockdown, so I would have to wait. And at that time, I had no capacity to sustain myself as I waited until these countries leave the ban, the travel ban. So I was really desperate for an opportunity, and when I was told I can do office cleaning in Saudi Arabia, that was under house-to-house cleaning. That house-to-house cleaning is what I was told. It involved cleaning different offices, cleaning different houses every day. And to me, it looked like a good deal, because the broker who had taken me to the agency told me that I can carry my resume and all those academic documents, so that when I'm going to clean the offices, I can as well apply for a better job in those places that I'm going to clean. Yeah, so it looked like a good deal to me, and I was like, let me just go with this house-to-house cleaning, because it's an every day a different house. So I felt it would be safer than working as a domestic worker.
Right. And so what was the process when you decided, okay, I'm going to take up this opportunity? What was required of you in order to do that?
Well, I already had a passport, and I had a yellow fever booklet. I had already taken my vaccine in 2019, and now this year that I am trying to travel was 2021. So for me, there wasn't much required. I was just told to leave my passport with the agent, and that's what I did, because I had gone to several offices, several agencies, and the moment they told me I had to give my passport, I just walked away, because I was not okay with leaving my passport with anyone. So this last one, when I was told I have to leave my passport, I was like, here we go again. Let me just give this one. Yeah, so I left my passport there. I told them to give me a colored copy of it. So she photocopied the biodata page of my passport, and I made her stamp it and sign that in case she loses my passport, she will have to give me another one. Yeah, and that's what we did. So I thought I was being very wise, but that was not it. Yeah, so I left my passport, and after like 2 weeks is when I was told that the travel plans are all complete, and I would have to get ready for travel that Friday. And on that Friday is when now they took us to the office for COVID testing. We were not tested for COVID in a hospital. A person just did.
Hi, you see me, right?
Yes.
Yes, just hold up for 1 second. Stick up in. I understand there's an echo on YouTube. I don't know if we can do anything about that here, but I've gotten 2 messages so far telling me that the YouTube channel has an echo. I don't know what we can do to fix that. And when Shortman gets back to his computer, we hope we can fix that. Patricia, you don't have any device on next to you, right?
None.
Okay, and the feed is it's so powerful. I like the volume sounds very clear. So I don't know where the feedback is coming from, and I hope
maybe it's on those person's ends, maybe.
And I understand it's very unpleasant. So we'll have to folks bear with us. Bear with us.
Or try if you're on YouTube and you're getting an echo, try Facebook, please.
Yeah, but not everybody has access to Facebook, so we really apologize for that. If you could put your radio on in the meantime, keep your radio next to you or go next to your radio for a bit until we sort this problem out. We're really sorry for that feedback. If you're on Facebook having the same problem, please let us know. But we understand it's very discomforting.
Facebook also.
Facebook also as well?
Apparently.
Both of them? Both. Patricia, if you could, is there any way to turn down the volume on your phone or your device a bit? Let's see if that would help. All right, so
we're not hearing you now.
Not all the way down, just a bit, just below the threshold, Let's see if that may help ease the echo or the feedback that you're experiencing. All right. So
how is it now?
Let's go ahead. Let's try again. Remember.
Apparently, everybody's saying they're getting it on Facebook as well. I don't. Oh Lord.
All right. Shortman, is there anything we can do about this? If you're back at your desk, because you just said he was going to.
Well, Patricia, you want to finish? Just finish making that point you were making about when you went to the agency and they took your passport, and you're saying there was a 2-week period between that point and when you were required to do some medical tests.
Yeah, it's just the COVID test, and it was not conducted in a hospital. There was just somebody who came to the agency and conducted the COVID testing, and we were told that we would not travel that same day. We would have to wait.
And were there any other medical tests that you were required to do? Because I mean, you are traveling to a foreign land, and there may be other requirements of you. I don't know if the agency itself needed to let the employers know of your health status, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I after I surrendered my passport that first day, the following day I was taken for a full body medical testing, And the person that, one of the people that were conducting the tests was actually a broker. I had seen him at the agency bringing other girls, but he was not a medic, but he was also conducting the medical testing. So I wouldn't even tell you where this hospital is, because it was not really a hospital.
Wow. And how were you preparing yourself mentally for this journey? And how long were you supposed to stay in Saudi Arabia?
Mentally, I just left my children with somebody I trusted, and that was the first time I was ever leaving my children with anybody. At that time, my daughter was turning 7, and my boy had just turned 1. Yeah, so it was really it was a big sacrifice, and I knew I wouldn't be comfortable for most of the time, because I have just learned to raise kids on my own. Yeah, so mentally I had that struggle of letting go of the children and leaving them in the care of somebody else, but I was ready to work for the 2 years. I was told that a contract would go for 2 years, but I would be given time to visit after a year. So I knew I would be away for a long time, because even a year is quite a long time for somebody who is used to raising children on her own. Yeah, so mentally I was very okay, because I knew I had to do it. Like, I had to do what I had to do, because even if I were to stay in my country, there are no jobs, and I would just be a bad mother for letting my children struggle. Yet I can do something else. There are opportunities abroad, so I felt like I needed to go.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. For those of you who just understand that the feed is perfect now, so thank you all very much for alerting us. All from Toronto, Tobago, Lindy, Dexter, Miller, Camille. Thank you all very much. Thanks a lot for alerting us to the problem, and now it's fixed. All right, so if those of you just joining us, you're listening to Patricia. She's speaking to us from Kenya via video, and she's explaining to us the journey into being enslaved in another foreign country that really sheds a light on something that exists in plain sight.
Yep.
And so we speak in human trafficking. She was trafficked. I didn't because of that, because I was so concentrated on the sound and everything else. Everything is perfect. Patricia, did at any point in time, if we should go there, Natasha, about red flags to you? Well, because they laid it out really nice for you.
She did mention about the passport issue, but I mean, after having gone to a few agencies who asked her to leave her passport with them, she decided on the fourth one, that okay, I'll leave my passport, but you need to give me a color copy and sign and stamp it, so that if anything happens to my passport, I know that you are responsible.
Right. No, and that is ill-advised, really, is it?
Yes, of course.
Right. So that's our first lesson right there, folks.
Yes.
It's ill-advised to relinquish your passport to anybody. Once, that's supposed to be the first red flag. But were you trying to convince yourself that this is a good idea, Patricia, and you were seeing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that was presented to you or painted for you?
Well, I felt like maybe my situation was different, because for other ladies, the agent had to apply for passports on their behalf. But because I already had my own passport, I felt that maybe my case would be different, or I would be treated differently. And I think one other red flag I ignored is the fact that the people testing at the medical center were not actually medics. There are people I was seeing before at the agency bringing girls, like they were brokers. These brokers were doubling as the medics or something like that. I don't have a I don't have the right word for them, but yes, they were conducting the medical tests as well.
So that was another red flag, that you have people conducting medical tests who are not physicians or medical professionals.
Yeah.
Now, is there a
Oh
point?
yes, another red flag. Another red flag is when the broker, the one who was taking care of my travel arrangements, when she told me that I should not go with a smartphone because my employer will think I'm competing with her. I was a bit worried because I didn't know at what point this person will notice that I have a smartphone, you know. Just a moment, I need to.
How is that their business? What kind of phone you have? You know? That's odd. Well, why do you think, now having looked back at it, why do you think they told you that?
There's some noise in my background. I need to turn it down.
Okay,
I think it's my children playing some music. I think I need to turn that down.
Okay, please.
All right, so let's take a break, folks. Shobma, let's go to a break while Patricia sorts that out, and we'll be back right here. You're listening to Independency, and thanks those of you who just joining us on YouTube or Facebook, and we hope that the feed is 10 times better now, and you're hearing us really clear.
Yep.
So let's go to that quick break.
And we'll be back with Patricia out in Kenya.
Sure.
Give me my phone.
What you doing taking them kind of pictures? I'll tell mommy.
And I'll tell her you invaded my privacy.
Privacy? When you send those pics, you lose all privacy. It's like setting up a billboard with your naked pics for the world to see.
Those pictures are for my boyfriend's eyes only, and he'll never do that to me.
Yes, he can, or one of his friends or family, or someone can steal his phone. Sending naked pics can open you up to embarrassment for you, your family, and friends. You can be harassed by bullies. Your pics can be uploaded to websites and seen by everybody, even the wrong people, sex offenders. It can also affect you getting a good job in the future. Once those pictures go out, you can never get them back.
Okay, I'll tell my boyfriend to delete them, and I'll delete these. I'm glad I have a smart little sister.
I'm still telling mommy.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago, through the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, continues to develop and implement effective policies and procedures to prevent and suppress human trafficking. To date, the National Task Force has developed 2 national plans of action against the crime of trafficking in persons. Trinidad and Tobago adopts a 4-pronged approach in its response to human trafficking. 1. Effective identification of victims and witnesses. 2. Prevention of human trafficking. 3. Protection of victims and witnesses. And 4. Prosecution of suspected traffickers. In the Ministry of National Security, we established a specialized unit called the Counter-Trafficking Unit to lead and manage Trinidad and Tobago's response to human trafficking. The Counter-Trafficking Unit works closely with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Immigration Division, and international law enforcement agencies to aggressively and proactively investigate and prosecute suspected human traffickers. Human trafficking is a serious crime. Rest assured, the government of Trinidad and Tobago and its agencies remain committed in the fight against human trafficking and will respond with immediate effect when the need arises.
We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio, at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m. and exclusively on 95.5 FM.
And streamed live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
I'm incarcerated here for this time and thing, and I'm frustrated bad about my children and them outside because I have 6 children I was. I'm especially see them and thing because I can't afford to see them or nothing like that. I don't know really what it is about because so far in this prison here, I don't know when I could come out from this prison. I'm fighting hard really to see if I can see this court and take a court on him, but it seems like I'm not going to court on thing. You understand? Because they say I'm supposed to be on my side. I will to court now and then, and I don't know when I'm going to court or when I could come out from this jail. Yeah, I never had no father on them that year. I've been living my life all the years, but I never had no father. Since I born, I never had no father on them. I'm incarcerated here.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency, and we are talking human trafficking this morning with Patricia Wanja Kimani, who is out in Kenya, and she's telling us about her experience being trafficked for labor from Kenya to Saudi Arabia.
And after her, we will speak with the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit, who has joined us already, Ms. Kimoi Thomas-Williams. And, of course, we started the journey with the act, the means and the purpose. So follow us, youngsters, especially, and we'll take it. So, Patricia, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. So I was going to ask, so did you at some decide, okay, there are too many red flags. Can I change my mind? I would like to change my mind.
I think I changed my mind at the last minute because I was only presented the contract like two hours before we boarded the flight. When I flipped through the pages, there are parts of the contract I did not agree with. For example, it's only the employer that had the authority to terminate the contract. And then when I flipped through, I realized that I was being sent out as a housemaid. And the other red flag was that our salary on one page was quoted in Qatar currency, and it said we were going to Qatar. And while in real sense, when you flip through the pages, it says I am going to be a housemaid in Saudi Arabia, and the salary quoted on these first pages in Qatar currency, which is higher, was now lower even in Saudi currency. Like it was on the first pages, it was 1,000 Qatar Rial, while when you flip through now the contract that I was meant to sign, it said 900 Saudi Rial, and to me it seemed like that's when I realized that I had been played all along, and I changed my mind. I told the brokers and the agent that was there that I don't feel like signing. So they said if I don't feel like signing, then I should pay back their money. And at that point, I had given away everything. So even if, no matter what amount of money they would have told me I owe them, I would not have afforded it, because at that point, I think I had like $50 to buy a bottle of water on my journey to the airport. That's all I had. So I felt when they said I need to pay back their money, I felt that there is no turning back.
Wow. So how much money did they say that you supposedly owed them, and what was that for?
At that point, I did not ask, because they talked a lot. They asked me how come I'm the only one complaining, everybody else is excited. So I borrowed the excitement of the others and said, you know what, I'm just going to try this. And in those documents I was signing, it said that once I bought the flight, it's now the Saudi agent who now takes responsibility. So when I said I don't want to sign, they said, you just sign, you'll sort out the issue on the other side. While it clearly said that when I cross over to that side, it's only the employer on that side who has the authority to terminate. So I felt like I am tied down and there is no turning back. At that point, they did not say anything, but eventually, when I was in distress, they asked me for $2,000 to buy back my freedom. Literally, that's what they said.
Wow.
So now the trap has sprung, and you are boarded. You went to the airport. So take us now to that preparation to leave Kenya.
The contract was given to me like 2 hours before we boarded. So after we signed, we were taken to the airport in a public bus. Like we were 27 of us. We went to the airport together, and when we got there, I think the airport personnel have a way to know that these ones are just going to Saudi Arabia. Their documents are not even legal, so they don't even check a lot. So they just put us in one queue, and we went in, we were scanned, and then we were put in the flight, and then we went to Saudi Arabia through Qatar.
And you said the mood of the group, everybody else on the plane seemed to be excited and happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how did they? Excuse me. How did they? How many of you? I didn't get that part. How many of you boarded the flight?
27.
Right. And how did they? When you landed, how did they identify you all? And who was waiting? Were there amount of let's say 1, 2, 3 people waiting for you all? How did that go?
We were in T-shirts, branded T-shirts. So 18 of us had the same brand written on our T-shirts at the front, and the other ones, the remaining, I think 9, had a different brand. So they were going to a different place, but we went together. We were coming from the same agency. So when we landed, there was an Asian man waiting for us. So immediately we checked out of customs and all that. We queued again because he had a way. He could see the brand, and he called us by the name of the company. He said Mahara, and we lined up. We were made to line up, and then he started taking passports. So I was beginning to wonder, why is this person taking our passports? But because nobody else was questioning, I was like, let me just give it away, because everybody else is giving it away. But the excitement of these other ladies was because most of them were the first ones in their family to ever board a flight. Others had come from very remote places of Kenya, and having that opportunity to work abroad to them was a jackpot. Yeah, so that's what explains the excitement of the others.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we are speaking with Patricia out there in Kenya, and she's telling us about her journey. She's just landed in Saudi Arabia, and she is about to see what life has in store for her. She answered to an ad on Facebook and for employment, and what was promised to her, it don't seem like it's going to work out that way. And so thank you very much again for listening to us on radio and Dependency Facebook and YouTube, and we will hear from the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit in a moment. Now, so Patricia, the journey has started from the airport, right? So you all were cleared. But I mean, taking the passports, sometimes you have a chaperone, they would do that for the entire group. They would take passports and take it through to make it easier, to make that transition easier. What happened when you came out on the other side of the airport?
After our passports were taken away, we were made to board a minivan, and that minivan, the windows were painted. You could not even look outside, and we took like a 45-minute journey from the airport to the office accommodation. When we got there, our phones were also taken away, and I was like, I don't have my smartphone anyway. I had already given away my smartphone. So when I gave away that very small phone, I didn't feel bad because I wouldn't need it anyway, because I did not have airtime. It cannot connect to Wi-Fi or anything. So I did not feel it. But the others, because it was their only way of updating their family that they have arrived and all that, they really felt it. And we had to be locked in. After we had given away our phones, we were taken upstairs to a different, to a room, and we were like 9 of us per room, and all these rooms were always locked. It's only that the bathroom door that was open, so we could not get out of those rooms. We cannot get out of that place, and the ventilation was just a small window, a very small window, and it was not always completely open. It had like a sieve, and very thin louvers through. You cannot even look outside through them. Wow. Yeah, and the ventilation wasn't all that good. And remember, this is still COVID time. It's still at the height of COVID when we had to practice social distancing, wearing masks, and all that, and all those protocols. Yet even the ventilation was not there, so we were just confined in those small rooms.
And how long did you stay in that space, and how were you treated?
We stayed there for 2 weeks, and they said it's because of quarantine. In those 2 weeks, the first 3 days at most, we would have 3 meals a day. And it's the same thing. When what we have for breakfast is what we'll have for lunch and for dinner in the evening. So the first 3 days we would have 3 meals per person. But from the 4th day onwards, the food started decreasing. We would share maybe breakfast among 2 people, and then it became so bad we had to have one person's breakfast among 3. And the only water we had to fetch from the bathroom. That's what we would drink. And at some point there was a sandstorm, and those sandstorms can be really nasty. So a sandstorm struck, and there was dust everywhere. And remember, there's no ventilation. So many of us, we even lost our voices because of the coughing, the allergic reaction. It was horrible.
Wow. And during this 2-week period, there was nobody from the agency or your potential employers who was telling you, okay, well, we apologize for this delay, or this is nobody coming to reassure you that this is not going to last, or anybody speaking to you all in any way in that form?
No, we were just locked in. Even the food was, they opened the door slightly, and then they throw the food in there. We were treated like animals. And then after 2 weeks is when now they said that we had to go for another medical checkup. Still now within Saudi, we had to do a proper medical assessment, and from that medical assessment is when now six among us had COVID, and I think one person was found pregnant. Yeah, and the rest of us who are in good health were taken to a different place, like 6 hours away. Yeah, so from that place, in a different town called Buraida. From Buraida is when now the following day I was called to meet my employer.
So how are you feeling going through this? This 2-week period must have been like hell, because this is not what you signed up for, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was horrible, and having to drink water from the bathroom, it was horrible, and I just couldn't wait to go to work. Like at that point, I was really desperate, and any job seemed like a better option than being in this facility. Yeah,
No.
so I think they put us there so that we can be desperate for a job or to go to work. So whatever they tried there, it worked. So yeah, so the following day after I was taken to a different facility, I was like, I cannot imagine tolerating what I have gone through in the other facility. So I had better get my employer as soon as possible. Yeah, so the employer came.
So Patricia, that was a way of breaking you all, you think? Into, because you said you had to drink water from the bathroom. Is it about the shower or the sink or the toilet tank? Patricia?
Oh gosh, she froze.
Patricia?
Seems like her internet has frozen on her end. Hopefully she will come back shortly.
Folks, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and you know we happy to have Northeast, Northwest, North, South Central, North, everybody. Good morning to you all, and thank you all very much. I hope you're learning something so far, which means that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is. And Patricia tried her best to ignore all the signs that she's about to be trafficked, and she ended up in the trap. You know, and I was just about to ask her or find out from her. She said they had to drink water from the bathroom. Now, but that was their first attempt at breaking them. And as she said, you know, hey, anything better than this? Yes.
I just want to come out.
I just want to come out of here.
Go to my workplace.
Yes. So.
You wanna bring in Deputy Director now?
Yes. Well,
so
we
wait on
Deputy Director. Good morning to you. And thank you very much for your patience. And I know you sat there listening intently. Tell us what you heard so far about.
Hi, good morning. You all hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Right. Her story, Patricia's story, is a very sad but real one. And it's actually happening in Trinidad as well. What I've seen so far is that, of course, there are the three elements that were made out for a human trafficking offense, which is the act, the means, and the purpose. And the act was where she was recruited, because that is one of the acts that can take place for someone to become a victim of trafficking. And in her case, she was recruited via Facebook. And if you look at the situation in Trinidad, about 99% of our victims are recruited through Facebook or WhatsApp. And the worst part is that many times it's persons that they know, sometimes their own relatives. So they either respond to ads or somebody would reach out to them and say, hey, come to Trinidad, you could get a good job, you'll make $500 a week. You know, and what you and Natasha said just now is so true, that if something seems too good to be true, chances are it is. In Patricia's case, she was also transported because she was taken to the airport. And that is something too that, you know, I'd like to advise all listeners. Anytime you answer these job opportunities abroad, from the time you go to the airport and you are forced to sign or asked to sign a contract, and when you read it, it's either you don't understand the terms or it's promising you something that you didn't agree to before, that is a big red flag. And also, if someone is intent for you to be signing this and you are hesitant about it, do not sign it, because it can only go downhill from there. Continuing with Patricia. Yeah, Garth?
Sorry, go ahead. I'll write down my question.
Continuing with her story, the means, you know, it was true fraud and deception, because she was deceived. She was sold this dream. She was told she'd be working in different houses, which in her mind, it seemed to be a safer option than being placed in a home. And again, that happens in Trinidad, where many young women are promised to be placed in a home with a nice family to do domestic cleaning. And then when they reach, is either, yes, they end up there, but they are brutalized, they are forced to work very long hours, just like Patricia was, or sometimes they are forced into prostitution. So that is another part of her story that is very, very similar to Trinidad, where they are forced to do things that they weren't told up front. And then the exploitation, well, I don't think she would have reached to that point just yet, because she reached the part where I think she was kept in a place for 2 weeks, which you are correct. That is another method traffickers use to break the spirit of the victims. So in that case, she was with a lot of other women. She didn't have proper access to fresh air. They had to drink water from the bathroom. In Trinidad, it happens here too, where the girls, in the case of the sex exploitation, sometimes they are raped repeatedly, so that by the time they are put out there to work, it's more or less they don't have a will to fight or resist. They will just do it. They will take alcohol, they will take drugs. And similarly for the labor exploitation, which we are actually seeing an increase in Trinidad, especially among men, they too are forced to work under very harsh conditions. So they are working for very long hours. If they are paid, it is little to nothing. And of course, the biggest red flag is where they are forced to give up either their passport or their identity documents. Because without that, it's more or less like you don't exist. Or at least that is what victims are. They are forced to believe that they don't exist, so they can't go and complain to anybody. And then you have to add on the language barrier as well, because many of our victims don't speak English, so they don't know where to go. If they do call out for help, persons might not understand what they are saying, because we've had instances where victims were trapped in a house trying to reach out to persons passing on the road, and they thought that they were actually soliciting them for sex, not realizing that these girls were asking them for help. So that is something as well that we are dealing with. Some common grounds that I were able to point out was that passports are usually taken away, or identity documents, from victims. Another red flag is where the contract terms that you get in the actual document is much different to what you would have been promised. So for example, they might have promised you $2,000, but then when you read the contract, it's $500, right? Many of them have children as well, many victims. So that is something to the forefront of their mind when they come to a new country, because their sole aim is to be able to get money to provide for their families. So that is another commonality. The next thing is their phones are taken away, because of course without a phone, they can't contact anybody, they can't send a message, they can't access Facebook to communicate with persons for help, right?
Yeah.
They are also ordered and controlled, so that, if they say, well, you have to stay there for 2 weeks, you can't fight it back, or you can't say, well, I don't want to stay, I'm not comfortable. They don't want to hear that. They would threaten you. They would send threats to your families, right? They're working for the long hours, the low wages, illegal entry. Well, in Patricia's case, it seemed legal in the sense that, they passed through the normal borders. And that is something that is happening in Trinidad too. We have victims that come through the Piaco airport, and they would say, well, yes, I came to spend time with a relative or whatever. But some of the red flags is usually these persons, these victims, they don't know where they're staying. They don't know for how long. They don't know who's coming to pick them up. So all of these things are red flags that, look, these girls are here against their will, or they are being deceived into coming to do things that they really wouldn't want to do. So those are some of the red flags as well. But I just saw Patricia sign back in, so we could revert to her.
Right. So that well done, Mrs.
Thank you
Williams.
very much for that.
Yes, thanks so far. And I hope any of you listening, you have any questions for Mrs. Williams, please feel free to drop it in so that we can you have time to get answered. Patricia, welcome back. And thank you very much for taking us to the point where Mrs. Williams just explained the act and the means. And now we're going to hear about that journey into why you were there, the purpose that these people brought you there. And the coming out of the immigration, you met the Asian person, they took you on the bus. First, another red flag, dark bus, keep you disoriented, you don't know where you're going, can't see, and then the passport taken away again, and then the locker room, and the phone's taken away. Patricia, before you froze, I was asking, you said you all had to drink water from the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Right. Was it the shower, wash basin, toilet tank? What part of the shower you used to get water?
Mostly shower water, if we wanted it warm, but on normal occasions when you just need I can call it cold water because Saudi is a very hot country and all water is normally warm. But when you want it warmer than average, you take from the shower. And if you want water that is cooler, you take it from the tap, from the sink, from the washroom sink, because that's all we had.
No, folks, if you just remember, Patricia just got back in. So if you're getting that echo again or any feedback, please feel free to let us know, all right? Now, Patricia, didn't it cross your mind, what am I doing here, Lord? Did it dawn on you then, even then, that this is not, sorry, this is not a good idea? This is not going to be a good journey?
At that point, I would call it a point of no return because I was still optimistic. I was still hoping that things would be different. I was still waiting for the turning point to see like the purpose for which I had come unfold. I had gone there to make a living, so I was still waiting for the moment that I will now see myself working, earning money. Yeah, so I was trying to like put away all negativity and focus on what was ahead. Yeah, I was still hoping for a brighter day every day.
Yep. Well, seeing as it is a little bit past 11 our time and time is running away from us, so let's move on quickly to your first job, the first home that you were placed in, and tell us what that experience was like.
That first house wasn't bad because the male boss, I'll call him boss. He was very friendly, very accommodative. He had worked in many different countries, so he would communicate in English, but the wife was still learning English. And yeah, the experience was good in the beginning, but the problem came in when I texted the boss to fix the machine because I had so much laundry to do. I had been standing for a whole day loading the washing machine and then loading the clean clothes into the dryer and then taking them to arrange them for ironing. So I was really tired and there was so much backlog. So I sent a message to the boss to fix the dryer so that I can clear up the work quickly. And he came back with the worker, and at that point he was coming back to the house. He was texting me, alerting me that I need to stay in my room and to lock the door because he was coming with somebody else. And when he was done, he would text me back and say, now I am done, you can clean up the space and continue with your work. And before he gave me the go ahead, he had told me, we have left the house, but we are still coming back, so you stay in your room. So that whole communication, when now the wife of the boss returned, they had gone away to their family house for Ramadan. So when she came back later that night, she realized that the dryer was running and I had finished cleaning up, and she asked her husband, and the husband said I had texted him to fix the dryer because he's the one that came to fix it. So when she heard that I had texted the husband, that's when all hell broke loose, literally. And it became such a big issue, and the madam even took me to her family house, and they were discussing me and they were looking at me differently. But now the following day is when now she took me back to the office. She never told me anything. After she had left is when now the supervisors from the agency were manhandling me, strangling me, and pushing me back and forth and asking me why I sent nude pictures to my boss. And I was shocked because that was not true. I was really shocked, and they threatened they would put me behind bars and a lot of things. So they locked me in a room in the agency, and I had to stay there. I had not eaten anything. So the following day in the afternoon is when now they let me out and told me I am going with another boss. Yeah, so that's how I left the first house, and that's how I went into the second house.
Now, Patricia, they physically assaulted you. They accused you of sending nude pictures to the madam's husband. And did they show, did you demand to see these pictures and to, you know, at least let me see what you are talking about? Did they show you any pictures?
Yeah, they snatched my phone from me because they snatched my phone from me and they went to my gallery and they were scrolling and they showed me the picture that they were saying I had sent, and that picture was actually my profile picture on WhatsApp. And I demanded to see, like I told them, if they're taking me to prison, let them bring the man too, so that we can also see his gallery, so that if it is a downloaded photo, if it is a screenshot, if it is a WhatsApp image, we can tell. So if it was a photo I had sent to him, it would appear in his WhatsApp images. If it's a photo he had downloaded from my profile picture, we would know it is a downloaded picture. So they said they will not disrespect the boss like that. And this lady, when they took my phone, I had switched it off. So when they gave it back to me, they had tried to switch it on because they were even telling me to put the pin. So they wanted me to put the pin so that they send a picture to my boss so that they can have some evidence to implicate me. But luckily, I had really secured my phone. So the following day, when they just gave me back my phone, I went to the other employer.
Now, going into the arms of that other employer, it's quite obvious, madam, she was a bit jealous of you with her husband. So she concocted this story. And you were actually made to sit in front of a jury to decide your fate. And a jury of their peers, right? Literally.
Yeah. It was really scary. It was... It's not something I like to even think about because I don't know where I would be right now if things had turned out differently. Yeah. It's a scary place to be.
And did you reach out to your agency to let them know what it is happening and
the agency is the one who was grilling her?
Well, yes, for those of who just joining us, you know, could connect the dots here. So the agency decided to send you to another location, right?
Yes.
What was that location like now?
I was picked up by a young man, and he was also very talkative, but just to avoid what had happened in the other house, I would not even respond to him, to his greetings or anything. So when I got to where he was taking me, the lady in the house was so verbally abusive, even at the first encounter. I had just gotten out of the car and she was screaming at me, asking me why I cannot say hi, yet I had not even seen her before. Yeah, so the abuse started there and then. So she gave me a lot of instructions in Arabic. And when I did not understand, she would insult me. You know, there are some Arabic words, we can understand them as Kenyans because our national language, Swahili, is a derivative of Arabic. So there are words she could say in Arabic and I would understand that this is an insult because it's an insult in Swahili. So when she gave me instructions in Arabic, luckily the gentleman was still there. So he told me, she means that you go upstairs and put your things there. And me being told to go upstairs, I don't even know which room upstairs because there was like 9 rooms upstairs. So I didn't know which one. And it was really mentally frustrating. It was just frustrating generally.
So you went to a 9-bedroom house. That was your next assignment.
Yeah, I believe there was more. Like I'm just generalizing because there was even another house downstairs. like within a day I would see like 13 or 17 different faces. Like I would see a lot of male guests in that house alone.
Right. And you were the only domestic worker in that entire house. Well, I can't say house, mansion.
Yes, it's a mansion.
And you were the only
And you were
worker?
the only worker there?
Yes. Yes, I was the only one, and then at the same time, it was a really old house, so a lot of things were broken down. So I was told to clean up and use the vacuum cleaner. When I tried to lift it, it fell apart, and I was told I'm the one that has destroyed it, and I need to replace it. And I was told now to use the other one. I tried to use the other one; it was also broken, and I was told to replace that too. And right now I can laugh about it, but at that point I cried. I really cried because even my salary was not even enough to afford one. So how was I gonna replace two of them? And I forgot to say that the first month, remember when we signed the contracts, we had been told it's 900 real, but when it came to the day of of receiving the salary, we were only paid for like the 10 days we had worked, meaning that for those people who had to undergo quarantine after being tested positive for COVID, they were not paid anything for the entire first month. So this 900 real was for if you work the entire month. If you work less than the 1 month, the salary is going to be less than 900. They don't put that in the contract. They don't tell you up front. They wait for you to receive the salary and ask for an explanation. Yeah, so that first month I was paid 300 and something real. The second month is when now I was paid in full because I had worked an entire month. But now in this second house, the one with a lot of broken things, I was not paid a single cent.
Not a cent.
Nothing.
And the people in charge of the house, was it a husband and wife, mother and well, son? Who was in charge really?
I can't tell because I would see like over 10 or over 15 different people coming to this house. But I know the person that I was communicating mostly with was the old lady. This old lady is the one that would really torment me. I would try to sleep, she would wake me up. Like she really tormented me. So I cannot forget her. For that reason, I cannot forget her. And I also remember her husband because he was also elderly. But the other gentleman, the one who took me from the agency, I also remember him, but it's hard to tell between those three who was the owner of the house.
Now,
This is probably an extended family situation.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and for those of you youngsters listening especially, picture yourself going through what Patricia is going through right now. You find yourself in a strange country, in the house of strange people you have never met. They don't speak your language, or you don't speak theirs, and all in the name of trying to make a better life for you and your family. Just think for a moment, and this will give you that jolt every time you see that ad comes up and you ask yourself or you question yourself, should I or shouldn't I? So, Patricia, could you tell us what a day in the life of a trafficked person for labor is in that house? Take us through your day.
The first day I got up at around 11. Okay, I got up earlier than 11, but then the house was so quiet. I did not know my way around, so I went back to sleep. Yeah, but when I went back to sleep, I was not fully asleep because I knew maybe the madam, the old lady would come demanding that I wake up. So I was not fully asleep. I was just resting on the bed. Yeah, so she got up at around 11 and she showed me around, and the following day I tried cleaning. Remember, this first day the vacuum cleaners were broken, so they were not usable. So that the third day now, after she had shown me around she had instructed me how to clean up, where to clean and all that. That third day, I got up I got up at 3, because in Saudi Arabia the sun comes out very early. So at around 3, the sun was already out. It was bright, and I cleaned up using a broom every room, and I also cleaned the bathrooms. I was told to scrub the walls of every bathroom every day. There were six bathrooms upstairs and two downstairs, and 2 others outside. So I had to scrub the walls of every bathroom and scrub the floor using very strong bleaches, and at some point my chest started being congested because these bleaches were really strong, something we call Clorox. So I would clean with that Clorox and mop the handles of the staircase, and also mop the stairs, and yeah, I would just do the cleaning, and it was a really big house. So if I start cleaning at 3, I would be done at around 10 in the morning, and then the madam would wake up and demand that I help her in the kitchen, and I would help her until around 4 in the evening, when I had to now do all the dishes, and it was a lot. It was during Ramadan time, so it was a whole lot of dishes, and then I would be done at around 6:30 when they would be now ready for the meal. They finish their meal, and then I would wait for them to finish eating, and then I can clean up. So for a whole day I would not eat anything, and I would wait for them to finish eating so that I can have the leftovers. So at first, on the first few days, I did not want to eat the leftovers. It was really gross. And at one point I got so weak, I had to just eat what I can eat, but I had to eat secretly. I even feel ashamed saying I ate, because if at that point they had seen me eating without them giving those leftovers to me, I would be branded a thief or something like that. So I was always scared to even eat.
So this situation is actually worse than the first one. But so how did you come out of it? When were you sent back to the agency, and how did you manage to reach out for help?
Yeah, let's look at the and before we do that though, just for those just joining us, you missed a lot. And remember, if you want to get a repeat of the program, you can, after the program has ended, you can go back to our Facebook or YouTube channel and look at it. Those of you who are on YouTube right now, especially, we ask you to please like and subscribe to the channel and click on that button, so that, because we have more very informative programs ahead, so we wouldn't want you to miss it. So please like and subscribe to our channel. That's all we ask, and give us that support, and we will give you the information that you need. So we listened to Patricia, and she started a journey in Saudi Arabia, and so now she's working for no money. She has to clean 8 bathrooms every day. I mean, that is slavery and punishment altogether.
Plus the other parts of the house too.
Plus the other parts of the house, and you're not getting to eat. Patricia, what was the final straw for you? And you decided, no, I'm not going to deal with this any longer. I need to go home.
I had my last straw a lot of times, but the threats kept me going. I remember a time when I woke up, my face was swollen, my hands were swollen, my feet were swollen, and I was always having a migraine. So when I told the old lady that I needed to go to hospital, she told me that Africans don't get sick, so I was pretending. And I really demanded, when I demanded that they take me to hospital, she just gathered all the leftovers and gave me to eat, because I think she thought it was the hunger that was talking. So she gave me all the leftovers they had, and I ate. When I had finished, she brought me like 7 baskets of laundry to iron, and that was it for me. I texted friends on Facebook, and I got a contact for a media person in my country. I texted them too about my situation. And then after I had tried ironing the clothes, and then I was like, I can't take it anymore. So the following day when I woke up, I found a gun on the table, and I took a picture and I sent to the journalist in my country, and I told them, now this is too much. I don't know who this gun belongs to, and even if I get shot, it would be hard to tell who did it, because I see a lot of strange faces every day. I see over 13 people in a day, so it would be hard to even say who did what. Yeah, so when I talked to the media person, we did an interview on Zoom, and I explained to them how I got to Saudi Arabia, how I got forged documents, how I was made to sign a contract which had so many different terms. When I got to Saudi Arabia, I was given another contract in Arabic. I explained all that. So when my story was aired, like that same night at 9 p.m., the whole country saw it, and the madam was told that she is being viewed by everyone in Kenya mistreating me, because at one point she was threatening me, but she didn't know that she was being watched, or I was on a live call. Yeah, so they released me, and I was taken to back to the accommodation, and at that agency, it's the accommodation is still within the agency office. So when I was taken there, I was being shoved around, being told to say the place is good, being told to say lies, and because of the attention that I had gotten, the supervisor also got scared, because I was getting calls all the time, and I had already given their number away. So when they switched off my phone, they took away my phone. So when they switched it off, it was the supervisor who was getting the calls, because people had her number as well. So she said that was too much. So they booked for me a bus back to the capital. It was like 6 hours, and yeah, that's how now they took me from that office now back to the main office in the capital.
And what was the plan from there? Was to send you back home, or to what was their plan in your mind? Sending you?
No, their plan was just from the beginning. It was just to get rid of me, because
You gone mute, Patricia. If you're hearing us, you're muted. Or maybe your internet has...
I think she froze again.
You froze again.
All right, so let's talk to Mrs. Williams in the meantime.
Yes.
While this is, I mean, is a good relay going on here, because at least Mrs. Williams would have heard enough. Yes. And those of you just joining us, we have with us Mrs. Kimani Thomas Williams, the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit. And Mrs. Williams, I think you heard the part that we were all waiting on. Tell us your thoughts, please.
Right. Yeah. So that is the third element, the exploitation. Of course, it could have been sex exploitation, but in her case, Patricia's case, it was labor exploitation. And we see that based on the number of hours she would have had to work every day, the fact that she alone was tasked with cleaning a very large house. I think it was 8 bathrooms, as well as other parts of the room. She was also abused verbally. She was manhandled. She said, sometimes they used to hold her, grab her. So when you really think about it, you see how closely related, or it's more or less an evolution, human trafficking to slavery. Because when you look at those slavery movies from back in the day, or even the ones that they recently produced, you see slaves standing up, being lined up, persons choosing who they want, then they have no say, they have no identity, they are beaten, they are not provided with food. that sadly is happening today in the world. It's happening right here in Trinidad, because as Patricia was saying, she wasn't fed. There were times where she had to sneak to get food just to survive, and that is a real situation that victims deal with on a regular basis. So that is why human trafficking really is slavery in these modern times. So although we had, all these emancipation acts and, they saying slavery abolished, it is still alive and thriving. Another part of her exploitation was the fact that she didn't have any contact with relatives or anything like that. So she was in her own world. And then there was the language barrier. Fortunately for her, she picked up on some of the words her boss was telling her, which were derogatory terms, and that is something that victims deal with too, because many times, when they go to a country that is different to what they expect, culture-wise, language-wise, they are at a greater disadvantage because they don't have anybody to talk to, they don't have anybody to reach out to, they don't know anybody to reach out to. And then they are also spoken down to as well, because Patricia said that, her boss used to speak down at her and buffer to more or less make her feel inferior. So, that is the exploitation that she was exposed to, and it's happening here in Trinidad as well.
Now, Mrs. Williams, what hurts the most listening to all of this, that we have among us people who would put on the best of clothes and go in their various corporations or places to work, but will have someone in their home, in this type of condition. It's really scary to know we have people like that out there in this century here. Still see people as that kind of, for that kind of mule labor.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, me, I like to give persons the benefit of the doubt, and I wonder if it is they're just so insensitive to the fact that what they're doing is wrong, or they look at it as in, okay, you need me because you came from nothing, you don't have money, and I am doing you a favor. So, that is where the counter-trafficking unit is trying to assist with that as well, to go out to do more sensitizations, because there are times, really and truly, where it might be about 10 to 15% of them may not really know that what they're doing is wrong. Well, of course, you must know that a worker needs food and bathroom breaks, but there are some who might, you're so anxious to get a job done. So, for example, if you're doing construction on your home and you hire some migrants to do the job, and you're looking to pinch your pennies because construction is so expensive, so you have somebody who's willing to do it for half the rate of what your own citizen would want to do it. You say, okay, that's a plus for me. And then you might have an event coming up. Your child might be christening or somebody might be graduating. So you want to finish this part of your house. So you tell them, listen, get this job done as fast as possible. Not realizing the impact that it could have on the person. This person is exposed to dangerous machinery, to the dust. They could get sick. But you're so focused on getting the job done within a deadline to impress your friends and your family, you're not realizing the bad treatment that is being meted out to the person. And on the flip side, you have the persons who, because they are members of society, because they have money, they see persons who don't have money more or less as chattels. So, they could treat them any which way. If they don't satisfy their needs, they discard them easily. So that is another part that we also have to look into.
Yep, thank you very much for that. Yes, and have people working on holidays and weekends and, and not providing them again with the basics.
Holidays.
Yep.
Even on their religious holidays, they're expected to work. They wouldn't even get time off to go to the church, the mosque, the temple, or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yep. I see Patricia is back. So, Patricia, take us home with this now, this part. You managed to reach out to the media in Kenya and got some exposure for about what you were going through, and I think that was a pivotal moment for you. Thank God you had a phone and could do that. So tell us now what further assistance you needed to get back home to your kids.
At first, after I was taken from that house, and then I went to the agency, and then there was all these threats, being manhandled and being told that I need to say I am okay, and I was being told to to lie to people that I was doing fine, and to say that the boss of the agency is a very good man. And it just did not make sense to me, because like they were holding me so firmly on my hands and telling me I need to say I was doing okay, and I was not. Yeah, so when they saw that I was not cooperating, the Kenyan agent started calling me with a private number, with a hidden number. And when I picked, he would just insult me and tell me I owe them money, I need to go back to work, things like that. So when I was completely not cooperating, and when they said those things, I would tell my mother or any other person who was readily available at that time. They saw that it was painting them in bad light. So when they took me from that place now to the main office, they knew that those from the main office would really harass me until I changed my mind. So when I went there, I was really harassed. I was insulted. My suitcase was turned upside down, and everything was taken out. And I was made to like arrange everything. And then they took me to a deportation center. So at the deportation center, there was no communication. There was no hopes, nothing to do with the process of taking me back home. So whenever I asked the agent what was their plan, he would tell me that they are trying their best. But after telling me they're trying their best, he would still call me with a private number and issue a lot of threats. But luckily, the IOM intervened, and the Kenyan embassy was put on the hot seat and asked why they were not working on my case, yet they were aware. So it's when now I got the the ticket, and I flew back home. And this was not just about me, because in this deportation center there were other women who are in even a worse situation. A lot of people used to be brought there to die. And yeah, for me, I take it like the embassy was just trying to look like it was doing something, but it was not. It was only that my story was viral. That's why they were trying to help me so that they can seem like they're helping. But in real sense, I left like 71 more women in that deportation center who had no hope of ever being taken back home. And it's only after I came back home and spoke about them, or even when I was in the deportation center, when I was being asked about my situation, I used to mention them as well. It's only then that they got the attention that they needed, and they started being flown back home one by one.
If you're just joining us, you're late, but Patricia just took us on a journey of, slavery in this century. Yep. And she survived it. Thank God she's back home now. And
now she's an advocate.
And she's an advocate
for others.
Yes.
Tell us, you wrote a book. You were recently at a conference. Tell us about the work that you have done and why you've decided to go into this kind of advocacy.
I decided to go into advocacy because a lot of people don't know that human trafficking is still happening. Slavery is still happening in this day and age, and it is in the open, but it is being disguised as something good, something like jobs abroad. So it's why I try to create this awareness so that anybody that wants to go abroad will know the red flags. And I always tell people prevention is better than cure. It's better to prevent yourself from getting into that situation, because when you're in distress, it's a race against time. So for us to avoid this whole situation, it's better to know the facts, it's better to know the facts and to know what to expect. Yeah, it's why I wrote a book, because my situation is not unique to myself only. It's a story that a lot of people can relate. It's a story that points out where the government itself is failing us, where the embassies are failing us, where regulation is not the solution. And that's why I wrote the book, just to bring out all these weak points, all these loopholes that are being exploited, so as to make human trafficking very real, yet nobody is seeing it. So yeah, I wrote the book just to expose those weak links.
Now, where can people get this book? You have it online, you have it on Amazon. Tell us, for those who are interested in getting a copy of Patricia's book, please support her if you can. Where can we get the book, Patricia?
The book is called Greener Pastures in the Desert. It's available on Amazon at $10. But for anybody that would maybe prefer any other way of ordering the book, I am available on social media as Wanja Kimani on all social media platforms. And yeah, in case somebody has any difficulties accessing it on Amazon, we can always make other arrangements.
All right. Now, before we ask Ms. Williams, we thank Ms. Williams for her time. Mrs. Williams, who is on with us this morning, she's the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit of Trinidad and Tobago. What about Kenya? Is there a Counter Trafficking Unit in Kenya?
I think there is, because at one point, like a few weeks ago, I went to deliver a book at an organization for people with disabilities in Kenya. So when I went there, it's when they mentioned to me that there is somebody who deals with counter trafficking, and they gave me the contact, but I've not been able to meet her and talk. Because I've been going through a lot myself. I've been doing a lot of advocacy as usual, and I've been warning people against being lied to about going to America, Canada on visit visas, because recently there is somebody who was duped, who was told that he would be taken to Spain only to end up in Thailand. But what he thought was a return ticket. When he tried to come back home, he was told that the ticket was fake. It was a fraud, So he really struggled to come back home. But so it's why I've been trying to create awareness concerning these cases. But every time I create the awareness, I get threats. I get people messaging me, telling me that they know where I live, things like that. So I have not been able to meet up with that counter trafficking person. And at the same time, some government officials are actually owners of these agencies. So it would be quite ironic to have a counter trafficking unit while some government officials are actually owning these agencies. So in Kenya, if there is a counter trafficking unit, then I don't know how effective it is.
Understood. Mrs. Williams, your closing remarks, please, and your advice and lesson for the people listening to us this morning and viewing us.
Right. So first I want to thank Patricia so much for sharing her story. I mean, it shows how far she has come from her situation, because very few victims turned survivors are able or willing to share their story and to give advice and to advocate on behalf of other victims and survivors. And the reason for that, just as she's saying, is that victims tend to get a lot of threats, if not made against them personally, against their families. And the traffickers always seem to have such great detailed information on like where they live, where they work, and things like that. So I really want to thank her a lot for it, because it's one thing for us, as an agency as well as a government, to try to sensitize the nation on human trafficking, but it's another when you hear a real life experience from a victim, because it just makes it that more real, because here's a person that would have lived it, showing all the trauma that she would have undergone. So Patricia, thank you very much for that. With regard to advice for persons who are answering these ads on the papers, either to enter into Trinidad or to leave Trinidad to go abroad, I just have to ask you to do the necessary background checks. If it is persons in the country that you want to go to, do research, ask them to find out how legit this is, or reach out to your embassy in that country to see, if it is a legitimate job. Because many times, these agencies have fully active websites. It seems so legit. Everything is in order. They may have a team of lawyers. Everything seems above board. They make calls to you. They organize everything for you, but yet when you end up in the situation, you realize it's not what you signed up for. So don't be too anxious to jump out to go to a different country because it seems like, oh, I can make so much money, it will be good for my family. Do the necessary searches before. And I'm looking forward to coming back on the program to share more, but I'm glad, Garth and Natasha, that you all focused on labor exploitation today, because in Trinidad most persons think about sex trafficking when you hear human trafficking, but labor exploitation and domestic servitude is real as well, and it is growing. So thanks again for having me on the program.
And thank you very much for accepting the invitation, Mrs. Williams, and we wish you and the Counter Trafficking Unit Godspeed. You all take care, and with your director, Dr. Chietram, we thank you all very much, and keep up the great work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And that was Ms. Kimoy Thomas Williams, who's the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit of Trinidad and Tobago, and we thank her for her time. And in the meantime, while we wrap up with Patricia, it's for the young ladies listening to you who would find themselves in these positions, in a desperate position, and really want to take that leap. What would you say? What would you say to them?
I would say that there is no opportunity out there that is worth risking life for. And I just would urge people to learn from my experience, because you will be promised a lot of good things, but on ground, you will not have those things you've been promised, and at the same time you will be exploited, you will be overworked, you will not be fed, you will be reminded that they bought you. So these opportunities that sometimes we think are opportunities are actually opportunities for somebody else to exploit us. So we really need to love ourselves, we need to take care of ourselves, and there's enough resources here at home that we can utilize to get out of the desperate situation we think we are in. Sometimes we may think we are really desperate, but when you get there and find that what you've been promised is not actually it, you will wish you were home. And when I was there in that situation, I wished I would come back home. When I don't have food, I will be able to borrow from my neighbor. And like when I was in slavery, even when I don't have food to eat, I have nobody to ask food from, even those we were with in the same house. So I would just urge people to love their home countries more and to find opportunities within the home country. If it is a small business, you better have that $1 a day which you are earning with so much freedom than go out there for that less than $300, which is not worth it compared to the work you're being told to do. So I would also want to emphasize on the advice of Mrs. Williams. It's really prudent to do background checks before you jump into any opportunity. Yeah, so I think that's what I would advise.
Excellent. And for those of you who would have not have known, but again, this is Mrs. Kimoy Thomas Williams, who is the Deputy Director of the Counter Trafficking Unit. The director right now is Dr. Samantha Chietram. And of course, some of you would have as well met the director before. And it's only we found out, Patricia, we want to thank her for hooking you up with us. We didn't know, and we want to give Miss Wheeler our regards, please, when you see her. We have not spoken to her in a while, but I understand you attended a conference that she was there and you all met and you were referred to us. So thanks a lot for accepting that invitation to tell your story on this platform. All right? And please extend our regards to
Thank you.
Ms. Wheeler. Okay? Let's take some calls for you.
I will.
622. Oh, before we do that, Shortman C. Let's go to video C. As you know, we do drug demand reduction here as well. And that's a concern for the Ministry of National Security as well. And I want to show you all this. So let's go to video C quickly. And those of you who are watching, if you were part of this party, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. One, I hope you throw a Thanksgiving at some point because you survived something that you shouldn't have. And I want you to ask yourself, if you can drink yourself this stupid, then you need to check yourself for rehabilitation because you quite clear you have a problem. And Shortman, as quick as possible, let's go to video C. And I want to show you. And this is what was left behind. Look on the ground, folks. Pay close attention. Watch and learn something. We slowed it down so you could see we have 1, 2, 3. There is fire services taking out somebody on a stretcher right now. In the video for those of you listening us on radio. And we have, let's start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people passed out by a fence under scaffolding from this party. Right? Now, I could imagine when it was dark, people who go in there to urinate and all kind of thing probably urinated on 1 or 2 of them who were lying down on that ground there. And look at these bodies lying on the ground there and ask yourself this question. How this is me? If that is you,
activity has caused them to be in this kind of almost like a coma.
Yes,
the world.
This is your life, you know. This is your life at stake. Dear Shortman, show the video again, please. And I want you to look at it clearly. This is you lying on the ground here, and are you on the ground there, passed out? That fire services have to come to get you. One, you have a problem with alcohol, then if this is what it would bring you to. And then if you popped any pills, remember, for those of you who want to use these class A drugs like ecstasy and LSD and all of that, you're mixing that with alcohol, your body begins to fight blood pressure and temperature at the same time. You will pass out. Look at this. You could have been robbed, raped, killed, kidnapped, anything. Why would you drink yourself to this state? Tell me. Aren't you ashamed? If anybody looking at this, if this was one of you, well, then you should be ashamed and you should get help. This is all we're asking. You need help. Anybody who can drink themselves to this point, where you end up under a scaffolding among strange people passing it, any 2 people could have picked you up and gone with you.
But the other thing, God, is do we know what agency is going to inform us of what substance or substances these people were on?
Well,
whether it was just alcohol or were there other drugs involved?
Well, when we host the SIU, I'm hoping that they will tell us that. That's the police, and we will probably have to get the fire and forensics involved to find out. But we sure this is not alcohol alone. Gary, 622-3937. 622-39. If you have any words of encouragement or advice or question, quickly. And Patricia, she's there. I'm not seeing her. So
I think they're gone.
All right. So folks, we want to thank you all once again for spending the time with us this morning. We hope that you all would have learned something from what you heard. We hope that the advice from Mrs. Williams and Patricia would have sunk in. We hope that you would think twice, 3 or 4 times before you even attempt to accept a job online. And we hope that the newspapers understand now that when somebody calls you to place an ad in the wanted ads, sometimes you could be indirectly contributing to human trafficking. Think about that. Hello, good morning.
Hi, God, good morning. You and Natasha and all the listeners.
Morning.
I listened to the young lady carefully, and this thing is sounding so dramatic, like it's a movie I'm listening to. But you know something that struck me? She said that she was sick, and she asked the lady to take her to the doctor.
Oh, you heard
and
that?
the woman tell her Africans don't get sick.
Yes.
That struck me. I mean, I was shocked.
Yeah, and that's from since slavery that was, African people are taught to not feel pain.
Correct.
And can endure hard work and labor better than any other race.
Yep.
So we are must sought after ethnic group for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That is a myth, and we must reinforce that is an absolute myth of white
Hello, good morning. Well, you should see me by the dentist. Back you could absorb pain.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Sinclair.
Morning.
And Ms. Natasha.
Morning.
I am listening to your program with some concern because in the video that you showed earlier with the fire officers removing drunk persons from the party, I was one of those fire officers.
Okay.
And the point that you made about persons attempting to rob and the possibility of human trafficking and those things were actually very real on that night. Because there were persons standing by trying to claim some of the drunk people on the wrong with their friends, only to realize after the party was over that they were not actually their friends.
Wow.
There was a young lady off the all right that we had to take turns babysitting for fear that somebody would actually take her away from there, somebody who is not her friend. And we had to school our friends when they came after the party was over to inform them of the dangers was the friends that they had to show us their IDs to prove that they actually know the young lady in order to be able to remove her. So young people who go into those parties need to be very aware that drinking alcohol to that extent and ending up in that position is very dangerous, not only to their health in terms of what the effects of drugs and alcohol on the body, but also their personal safety. So I just want to put that word of encouragement to young people out there to be very mindful of what could happen when they expose themselves to that type of danger.
Officer,
Thank you very much, officer, for calling
so
in.
much. Wow, I could not have said it better, and we got
some
it from
applause.
you. Are you still the officer?
Yes, sir.
How long this do you think they were lying there for before you all were called?
No, we put them there.
Oh, you all put them there?
Yeah.
So they were
Because they were passed out in different parts of the party, and in order to provide care for them, we had to take them out of the party and bring them closer to us. Because there were persons that we had to convey to the hospital as well.
Wow.
And would you all have followed up on these persons, or no? Just a matter of giving whatever first aid was possible at the time and transporting them to hospital.
Unfortunately, we have no follow-up mechanisms for those types of events because that is an extra duty. So what we do for the persons who we didn't convey to the hospital, we ensure that they were in a vehicle with their friends or their family members so that they will be conveyed at home. So at least we leave them in some sort of supervision, some care for them. So we didn't just abandon them.
right. So sorry, Natasha. I'm just to ask this question.
So am I.
So you don't think and there's where the follow-up would have come in if any date rape drugs were involved, because sometimes people slip somebody a date rape drug and wait for it to take effect and but then pounce. You wouldn't be able to tell us that, really, right?
No, we would not have that information. The only people we could follow up with are the persons who go to the hospital. So unfortunately, the fellow who got stumped on the ground, he was also conveyed to the Port of Spain General Hospital by the fire service ambulance. So we found out that he died.
He died?
Yeah, he died.
Oh my goodness. And is this an activity that fire officers are called upon regularly to perform at these parties?
Yes, because we are there to provide life safety and fire safety. So when the general public basically thinks that the fire service have no purpose for being in an event like that, it's not only for if we have to evacuate the place in case of an emergency, but also to provide that type of assistance to people who are sick or injured.
Yes. And we
So
thank
that's
you
part
so
of the
much.
mandate of the fire service in that event.
Fire officer, we want to thank you so very much for your service,
For listening, for calling.
for listening, and for calling in.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sinclair,
Yes, sir.
I must say that I was a CCC trainee before I joined the fire service, and your impassioned speech actually did a wonderful job for me and for the persons who was in CCC on that particular time. So thank you also for that guidance.
Yeah, I'm blushing here. But I thank you very much and congratulations on your ascension in life. Now you are a fire officer coming from CCC. Hey, that one.
Can now offer advice to current CCC
Well done.
trainees who are listening right
Yes,
now. Thank you very much.
so you
sir.
have CCC trainees listening, and we thank you very much. CCC trainees are here, right? You're here for yourself. We have a fire officer who just came from your direction. Officer, God bless you. Thanks a lot. Take care, right?
Same to you and your wife.
Okay then. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Well, folks, again, another informative morning here on our Dependency. And we thank you all very, very much. We thank Ms. Kimoy Thomas-Williams and we thank Patricia for keeping our audience enthralled. And, it's a really great lesson here this morning.
Indeed.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Indeed.
And again, what better way to end but a fire officer who was at the Civilian Conservation Corps. Congratulations. Folks, take care.
Good afternoon.
Hope you all learned something today. We have major news coming up next with Mr. Daly now. Take care.
Trinidad, this is the most influential name in radio. I-95.5.